It's a Tuesday night and I have refreshed the same two browser tabs 4 times in the last 10 minutes. Nothing's happening, and that's a problem. 93,820 in one account and 26,142 in the other. Together, that's more than 100,000 Swiss francs invested, a number I have been chasing for 2.5 years. And I feel almost nothing. I am 27, I work as a chemist in Switzerland, and I'm about to tell you something that actually surprised me when I worked it out. 100,000 Swiss francs is not the milestone that matters. There's a different number, one most people never bother to calculate. And that is the real turning point. I will show you exactly what it is around the 15-minute mark. And once you see it, you will probably run the same calculation on your own numbers. If you've ever hit a goal and felt strangely nothing about it, this video is exactly for you. I built this channel around real numbers. So subscribe if that's useful, because the next 15 minutes are going to change how you think about your own first 100,000. Quick context if you're outside of Switzerland. So the Pillar 3A is a private pension account. Up to 7,258 a year, tax deductible, invested in the market. Mine's roughly 83% equities through True Wealth. So this one is locked until the age of 65. My 26,142 in there has returned 24.35% since I opened it. I won't touch a franc of it until 2062. So some of you are already thinking money you can touch for 38 years doesn't really count as wealth. And that's a fair point, but here is my answer. It counts as wealth, it's just not accessible wealth. It's real, it's compounding, but not the number I could use tomorrow. So that's the 93,820 Swiss francs in the Giro. And even that one doesn't feel like money, it's a number. So because 2.5 years ago, both of these accounts were actually at zero. I started my first job in October 2023, a chemist at an R&D company in Switzerland. The salary, 95,000 gross per year, which equates to roughly 6,500 net per month. I had 20,000 left from a life insurance policy I crashed out during university. So that was my starting point. It's not a gift and it's not an inheritance. It's a policy my parents had taken out when I was a child that paid out when I turned 24. So for the first 6 months, I did absolutely nothing with it. I have talked about this in another video, the broker paralysis. So the market timing hesitation and the spreadsheets I built instead of just investing. I waited from October 2023 to April 2024 before putting a single franc into the market. And when I finally started, I kept it simple. So one ETF, the Spider MSCI All Country World Index, with 2,262 companies across 47 countries. The TER is 0.12%. So every month, 3,000 Swiss francs goes into this De Giro automatically. 600 goes into True Wealth for the 3A pillar. That's it. No stock picking, no timing the market, no complicated allocation. One ETF every month, automatic. So my savings rate is roughly 55% of my monthly take-home pay. I spend 3,000 on everything. Rent in a shared flat in Zurich, food, transport, gym, subscriptions, and the occasional kebab. And I invest the other 3,600. So over 2.5 years, that routine has produced 93,820.75 Swiss francs in the Giro and 26,142 in True Wealth. So total 119,962. A lot of numbers. So which brings me back to the original question. Have I hit the 100,000 and why does it not feel like anything? So let me try to make the number concrete, because I think the reason it does not feel real is actually important. Okay, let's get concrete. 100,000 Swiss francs is 66 months of Zurich rent at 1,500 per month. So that is your rent paid from today until the end of 2030. Already covered. It is 222 months of groceries at 450 francs per month. That is 18.5 years of food. So if you are 27, your groceries until you are 45 are mathematically covered. It is 25 years of a GA travel card at 4,000 Swiss francs per year. The GA is a Swiss travel pass that gives you unlimited access to every train, every bus, almost every boat, and almost every cable car there is in Switzerland. So up to mountaintops with views that stop you mid-breath. 25 years of that. Every summit, every valley already paid for. And yet, when I look at my brokerage account and see the 93,820 francs, I feel almost nothing. Because it's not 25 years of mountain summit, it is a number in an app that I have decided not to touch until 2062. It does not feel like money, it feels like a score in a very slow game. The psychological distance between you and the invested money is what stops you from spending it. It is why the system works, but there is a risk at that distance. If the number does not feel real, you do not feel the progress and you do not feel the compounding. You do not feel the milestone that you have actually achieved. So I ran a calculation and that is what made it feel real. So this is the number I promised you at the start. Here it is. This is a compound interest calculator and I'm going to enter one specific scenario. The starting capital, 100,000 Swiss francs. Monthly contributions, 0. So I stop investing today, never put in another franc, and the annual return is 7%, which is the historical average of a global equity index. Time horizon, 38 years until I'm 65. 1,418,623 Swiss francs. If I stop investing today, right now, never put in another franc for the rest of my working life, I will retire with 1,418,623 francs. A millionaire by doing nothing from this point forward. So of that 1.4 million, 100,000 are the contributions. So 1.3 million is what the market adds. The market contributes 93% of the final number. I contributed only 7%. So some of you are already thinking that number doesn't account for inflation. So it's not really telling you the full story. You're right, and I want to be precise about that instead of glossing over it. That 1.4 million comes from a simple 7% nominal return, no inflation adjustment. So it's the raw compounding figure. This is useful for understanding how much of your future wealth is market-driven versus self-driven, but not the number you would use to plan an actual retirement budget. For that, there is a more precise concept, and it's called coast fire. So coast fire is the point where your existing investments, so left completely untouched, will grow to your full financial independence number by retirement age. So picture a train that has already left the station and built up enough speed that the driver could take his hands off the controls and it would still arrive on time. So that's kind of the idea. No more fuel needed, the momentum carries it the rest of the way. Coast Fire uses a more conservative calculation. It accounts for 3% annual inflation and for a 4% safe withdrawal rate in retirement. In my case, I spend 3,000 per month, which is 36,000 per year. So when I put those numbers into a Coast Fire calculator, retire at 65, 7% return, 4% withdrawal rate, 36,000 Swiss francs annual spending. Here is my Coast Fire number. 211,579 Swiss francs. This is the inflation adjusted number I need to invest today for compounding alone to fund my retirement. Not 100,000, 211,579. I have 119,962, so I am 56.7% of the way to Coast Fire, which means I have not coasted yet, but I can see exactly how far the hill goes, and the view from here is already different. Even before I reach full Coast Fire, the 1.4 million projection at a 7% return tells me something important about what I have already built. My monthly expenses are 3,000 francs. That is everything. So rent in a shared flat in Zurich, food, transport, gym subscriptions, the occasional dinner out, 3,000 francs per month. So my current net salary is around 6,500 per month and I invest 3,600 and spend around 3,000. If I dropped to 50% employment tomorrow, working half the hours, earning roughly 3,000 net, I could cover all my expenses, invest nothing for retirement, and still have 1.4 millions at the age of 65 from what is already in the market. I am not going to do that. I like the R&D job and I have a channel to build. But the option exists, and having an option you do not use is still having an option. So that is different from not having it at all. So what I actually think about is this: spending 50% of my time on the R&D job that pays my salary and 50% on Alpine Capital, the YouTube channel, the newsletter, the content, which is roughly what I'm doing already, just around the edges of full-time work instead of alongside half-time work. So Coast Fire and the progress toward it means that the next career decision I make is not driven by fear of a bad retirement. It is driven by what I actually want to build. That is what 100,000 francs and the trajectory it represents actually buys you now. It's not stuff, options. And here is the number that actually gave me confidence, not the 1.4 million projection, which is real but 38 years away. It's this one. This is my DEGIRO portfolio. Total current value 93,820. The money the market added on top of what I put in is 14,819.11 francs. So almost 15,000 Swiss francs generated by the market. Not by me working and not by me saving harder, by owning a diversified portfolio and not selling it. So over 2.5 years, that is 493 francs per month on average. The market has been paying me 493 francs per month just for existing as an investor, while I was at work, while I was sleeping, and while I was on a ski slope. That 493 francs is more than my monthly grocery budget, generated without a single extra hour of work. And here's what that number becomes as the portfolio grows, assuming 7% annual return. At 200,000 Swiss francs, roughly 1,167 per month from the market. At 300,000, roughly 1,750 francs. At 500,000, roughly 2,917. And at 600,000, roughly 3,500 per month. More than I currently spend on everything. And at 600,000, the market pays more per month than I spend. Not because I'm rich, because the machine is large enough to run on its own. 93,820 francs feel like a score. 493 per month feels like a salary, and salaries are real. But the most interesting number is not the monthly return. It's the moment the monthly return becomes bigger than my contribution, and I will show you exactly when that happens. So here's the math I find most interesting about this milestone. I invest 3,600 per month. That is 43,200 per year going in from my salary. So at 7% annual return, 100,000 Swiss francs generates me 7,000 in year one. So right now, the market contributes 7,000 francs per year, and I contribute 43,200 francs. So the market is doing 16% of the work. And as the portfolio grows, that ratio shifts. At 200,000, the market contributes 14,000 francs, and I still contribute 43,200 Swiss francs. So the market is doing 32% of the work. At 300,000, the market contributes 21,000. Market doing 49%. At 400,000, the market contributes 28,000. So the market is doing 65%. And then there is one specific number where this line crosses. 617,143. At this number invested, the market contributes exactly 43,200 per year. So the same amount I put in. So above that number, the market contributes more per year than I do. And this is the point where the train that left the station 2.5 years ago finally reaches cruising speed, where the tracks do the pulling and not me. So that is the real milestone in this journey. Not the 100,000, not the 211,000 Coast Fire, 617,143 is where the machine becomes bigger than the person operating it. So if that number surprised you as much as it surprised me when I first calculated it, hit the like button. It helps this video reach more people who are somewhere earlier on this same track. So I am at 119,000 Swiss francs, so the 617,000 feels distant. But the distance is measurable and the direction is fixed. So the 100,000 is not the finish line. It is the point where you can finally see the finish line from. But I also want to be honest about what actually changed at this milestone, because I think most people expect a moment, a feeling, just something. What changed? Confidence in the market. I have 14,819 francs in real returns from a real brokerage account. It's not theoretical, not backtested on historical data. It's mine. Over 2.5 years, the market did exactly what every investing video on YouTube said it would do. It went up. Compounding worked. The returns were real. I believe in it now in a way I did not when I had 10,000 francs. And another thing is I have a more relaxed relationship with market drops. If the market drops 50% tomorrow, one of the largest crashes in history, I still have 47,000 francs in the Giro. That is still more than the median Swiss net worth at my age. I do not need to sell a single share. I can cover my expenses from my salary for years without touching the portfolio. The floor feels higher. And the plan feels real, not abstract, not someday. The projections I ran before I invested a single franc are playing out. The machine works. What did not change? The monthly routine. 3,600 on payday into the same ETFs. Nothing changed. The lifestyle, same shared flat, same 3 flatmates, same 3,000 francs monthly budget. The same GA travel card, no celebration dinner, no apartment upgrade. The number on a screen did not change how Tuesday morning feels. The goal, 7,916,388, is still the full projection at 65. If I keep investing at this rate, 100,000 Swiss francs is not the destination. It's the proof that the machine works. So here is the full picture. 93,820 Swiss francs in the Giro, 26,142 in True Wealth, 14,819 in investment returns generated by the market without me working for them. 211,000 needed to reach coast fire. 56.7% there. 1.4 million if I stop today at 7% return. 617,000 where the market starts outrunning me. 7.9 million if I do not stop at all. And I am not stopping. But I crossed a line where stopping would not be a catastrophe, where the market is genuinely, measurably contributing to my future every month without me doing anything extra. And if you're somewhere below 100,000 right now, maybe at 10,000, maybe at 30,000, maybe you have not started yet, I want to tell you what I would have wanted to hear 2 years ago. The machine works. 14,819 francs is real. The compounding is not a theory. It's a number in the brokerage account that was not there when I started. Get the money in, leave it there, and the rest is just time. The compounding interest spreadsheet from this video and every calculation I showed, the coast fire numbers, the snowball inflection point, is in the newsletter this week. So link is in the description. I will see you in the next one.